You are now tuned into Flippin the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 81 of Flippin the Birds. I'm Bryan Cameron. Usually we have Goliath next to me, but he's actually on a little bit of a leave right now. So I'm fortunate to be joined by Morgan, one of our great PSN writers. Morgan, what's going on, brother?
Not too much, man. I mean, different bearded guy with a hat on, but I still fit the logo, so it works.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And look, I'm happy to have you on because you are actually the only PSN writer, I think, without a Twitter. So nobody can control you on Twitter at all. No,
it's good. It's good. Keeps me sane, honestly.
Yeah, the Eagles Twitter is a little bit chaotic. And what's going on, Duck? And just to answer you, no, Chris did not get fired. Chris is actually taking a couple weeks off to kind of handle, certain personal matters. So we're wishing him the best right now for him and his family. But yeah, I mean, we're still going to cover everything Eagles, and we're going to hope that Chris gets back as soon as possible.
For sure.
But Morgan, like I said, you are the one PSN writer without a Twitter, so nobody knows you. But I'm pretty damn positive that they're very well aware of your work because usually your stuff always hits Bleacher Report and it's always gotten the great reviews. For everybody that's new to you, just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I've been with the team for I think 3 years now. Me and Liam was covering drafts like the first year by ourselves and then moved on. Like we've been growing. So you see my articles around, probably as life goes on, contribute a bit less, but no, I mean, I'm happy to be here. This is the well-known podcast that everyone loves to come watch. And so I'm happy to be a part of it. That's for sure.
Dude, I'm happy to have you on. I mean, we've been trying to get you on for a while. I mean, you did cover the last draft last year with us as well. So it's pretty awesome. But there's something we do got to dive into. The draft is over, and I know we're about probably like 2 weeks out from it when it actually happened. But let's talk about it. I mean, how did you feel overall about this draft class? I'll let you take the mic first.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel the same way a week later. Like it's definitely not compared to the last couple of drafts. It's not a bad draft. I feel good. A lot of solid picks on there. I don't know if it's the A+ home run that most people were hoping for. But definitely in comparison to the last couple of drafts, like there's nothing to complain about here. Solid draft. I don't know if it's a full redemption for Howie, but a solid B+, I think. I mean, it would have been nice to have another corner, maybe maybe some more like a linebacker earlier on, but I think you can't complain about this draft. It's pretty solid.
And it seems like they really dipped their toes into the water with the defense. I mean, we'll cover the defensive guys first because I do want to get your point on your opinion on Devontae Smith and them. But Milton Williams, Zach McPherson, I want to say it correctly. Marlon, Teron Jackson, Jacoby Stevens, Patrick Johnson. I mean, a lot of these guys that were either defensive ends or defensive tackles, and some of them or even safeties, and some of them were actually converted to linebackers mostly. And then I think Williams is actually going to be used as a defensive end, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, I like we'll stick with Marlon. I like that because, I don't know if I could read that last name either, but we'll learn it. We'll get there
at some point, right?
Yeah, but I think you hit it on the head there. Is that I think what they wanted is a lot of movable pieces. Like as the puzzle pieces start to fall into place, you don't know who's going to be where. We talked even in the draft about next year's draft. We got 3 first rounds probably. We got a lot of talent in that draft, especially defensive talent early on. So I think what you wanted to do this year is really get some guys that can move around, that are good at different positions, and then let the pieces fall where they will, right? Get some guys that are going to be contributors. Who knows what we're going to get next round. And I think they did a pretty good job. Like, I know we're going to talk about them individually, but there's definitely some talent on that board right there.
I think one name is really intriguing to me right now is Jacoby Stevens, LSU safety turned linebacker. I mean, the kid could hit. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've seen the highlight of him just trucking I forgot which receiver it was, but he just trucked the life out of him before he even got the ball. Yeah. So it's interesting to see them going straight to conversion right away, where like, hey, you're a safety, but we need you a linebacker. So they kind of covered the needs without covering the way we wanted them to cover.
Yeah,
Sure a lot of people wanted Moses, Cox, the kid that fell into the second round. Oh God, Joker.
Yep.
So at this point, it's not too bad. I don't think.
No, I think he's aptly named when you say Joker. Like I think that's kind of the new position we always talk about, right? Is that safety linebacker hybrid, and I mean the Eagles have won it for a while, even last year. With taking, I mean we had like 4 or 5 safeties that came in. They're rotating them and they're trying to find that guy, right? So whoever that will be this year, like I think they really want that versatile piece that they can have. Damn, Chris.
Yeah, you see how he does it? Like, I feel like I'm being chaperoned right now.
Yeah, honestly.
And I got kicked out. I don't know why I get kicked out.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, I'm happy that I'm already up there, but I mean, it's too quick, Chris. Yeah. I think they're trying to get that piece, right? That piece that can cover tight ends, that can maybe come down in the slot, blitz, kind of be everywhere. So, I mean, nasty dude. I think this is something I've been talking about for a while. Is like this is not a defense that teams are afraid to play against. We used to have that. Like, I mean, we got a great D line. They can wreak a bit of terror, but bit of havoc. But I don't think teams are afraid to play us. So getting those hitters. I mean, Kayvon Wallace, another guy like that's like another guy last year. Mean dude, honestly. Mean dude, can play a bit of everywhere. A couple hits a game, man, that goes a long way, especially when you got a team that's trying to come back from a bit of a bummer year. Like a couple of those big hits, a couple of those big plays. Add some mean to that defense. I like the move for sure.
So they did add meat to the, I guess you could say, the second level of the defense. Defensive line has always been a strength of ours, but linebacker, they added some depth for sure. I know they want to develop the young guys that are right there, like Sean Bradley, Davion Taylor, TJ, and Alex. But the secondary, I mean, you only added one cornerback to this weak secondary that has Darius Slay, Vontae Maddox. You have Seymour, Elijah Riley, like a lot of guys who stood in last season, but didn't really help, to say the least. I mean, the Eagles need to do something in this free agent class where you have, your Steven Nelson, you have even Richard Sherman out there still. But Zach McPherson, a lot of people are high on him. I'm not sure. I didn't do too much research on the kid, honestly. I was shocked at the move. But I don't know if you actually looked into the product. Yeah,
I mean, he's kind of a scout's product or prospect, I think. Like a lot of the scouts were high on him. And I think the more you watch him, you realize why. I think that he's not a year one guy. Like I don't know that he's going to come in and be the answer. One of the things, again, that I'm kind of going to go back to this a lot with the draft class is he can play inside or outside. I think when you're looking at next year, there's a high chance, like I would be shocked if the Eagles don't go corner at some point in the first round next year. So when you're thinking about it, like you wouldn't really want to waste the pick this year on a guy who's going to give you 1 year starting and then be knocked out to the bench. We've had that. We've had a rotation of young guys keep coming in. And so I think what they're looking for is, again, just a player that can play all over the field. I think the most important part with him, he got better every year. Penn State transfer, I think.
He transferred off the top of my head to Texas Tech. You're right.
Yeah, so Penn State transfer, didn't play much, went to this smaller school, and just gets better every year. I think like not much he does wrong. I don't know if he's a splashy player. Like he's not going to come up with that 7-pick season or anything like that. Like no, none of that. I mean, but it's just solid. Like good in run coverage, good in man, good in zone. It's just like a solid all-around pick, and to keep getting better. I think that's what I saw of him.
It feels like they covered they kind of covered their ass more so in the regards to depth. I mean, that's what Landon Dickerson is not starting year one. Williams he's not going to be starting over Hargrave anytime soon. McPherson, like you said, he may see the field, but he's not going to be a starter. I mean, depending on if they add anybody, of course. Kenneth Gainwell, not going to be a starter, but he's definitely going to be a freaking weapon. I'm excited to see him. I was very big on him heading into the draft. So for the Eagles to get him in the 5th round was a bit of a head scratcher for me, because I thought the kid was definitely at least like a 3rd round pick, to say the least. And he's to me a better version of what they want for Boston Scott.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the more the talk you hear about it, that's kind of what people are thinking, is that this is competition for Boston Scott. And again, man, like this is what we're talking about this draft. Like, I don't know if it's an A, but when you can find value like that in the 5th round, like you can't really be upset with that. Like, it's a great player. There may have been bigger needs, bigger holes. But I mean, if you haven't already, toss on those highlights and you'll get excited. Like, he's a great player.
He's nasty, man.
I mean, we're gonna get to it. This running back rotation is confusing, man. I'm trying to make sense of it, but no matter what, like, I'm sure that the Eagles will let him see the field. He's gonna be a great player. So,
yeah, I honestly can't wait to see him game well. And we'll talk about the running back rotation a little bit later on this show. Yeah. But there's something that we do definitely need to talk about, is the first overall pick for the Eagles is definitely one that's full of highlights. I mean, Devontae Smith to jump the Giants from 12 to 10 and trade with the Dallas Cowboys, to me, was remarkable. It was a great way to say that, hey, we want to do better. We finally want to do better. We want to do right by our quarterback right now. Devontae Smith, though, how do you feel about it? Because I'm ecstatic about it. I don't care how much he weighs. I don't care how slim his frame is. Mm-hmm. I mean, I still think he could be a great product on the field.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're nailing it on the head. Like, this guy, he brings so much to the offense. You have. I think I brought this up. I wrote an article about it too. But like, you have an offense last year that really lacked creativity and just couldn't do much. I mean, Jalen Reagor, he gets a bad rap. I think he's a great player. He's going to be a great player. Is he a superb route runner? Can you give him that? Those complicated routes? Maybe not this, maybe, 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, maybe, but right now in his career, you don't have that. Alshon Jeffrey's not going to run those routes for you. Deshaun Jackson graded a couple routes. Is he graded 100 routes? No. And then you have Devontae Smith coming in, man. This guy can run anything. You can make it up in your head on the spot, and this guy could run it better than you imagine.
He's literally a route technician. I mean, he's nasty.
I mean, for all you guys that got young football players at home, pop on this guy's tape and just watch. Like, this is the guy to learn from. The tape doesn't lie. He's a great route runner. And I think, like, with the body size, obviously an issue. Is he going to be a great blocker? Probably not. Mm-hmm. You love the tenacity. He goes after it. It's not that he can't block. He's not going to be a dominant blocker. But what I like with his route running is he's really good in small spaces. Like, you see a lot of these guys that are small. They need a bit of space to operate in. And Devontae Smith, the more and more I watched him, the more and more separation he gets out of these little tiny moves. Like, it's so nuanced. Like, you blink and you miss it. But then he's 3 yards ahead of you. And that's where you kind of forget that he's a small dude. And then the other thing is the reach, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you don't see many guys that are his height with that kind of arm length and those hands. Like, he's just a different guy. Like, I don't think we've seen a player exactly like this. And I think so that people are quick to judge, but I think we're going to see a completely different type of receiver, which is awesome. And thank goodness it's in Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like he's kind of like the NFL's version of possibly Kevin Durant. I mean, not to the greatness level, but to the style of play and to the style of attitude as well. Like, Durant went onto with a slim frame and still dominated the league for his first couple of years. You do have a pushy question from one of our regulars, Jay Fizzle. So he wants to know, what route couldn't Djax run, in your opinion?
Well, I think like his bread and butter, again, this is not, you can't run. These are all NFL guys. Like, they can run every route. But I think what you saw with Deshaun is you see a lot of crossing routes, you see the goes, you see the hooks. But you're not running these long arcing, plays. Like, again, some of these don't even have names. They're put in the playbook. They're weird routes. But I think, like, it's not necessarily that he can't run these plays. Is he a specialist doing that? No. And number two is, like, you're kind of wasting his talent. He's a speed guy, right? Mm-hmm. We see a guy with Devontae Smith, maybe not the same top end speed, but in tight corners, man, and his route running is amazing. So, I mean, we can pull up the graph. You see Deshaun Jackson, when he runs his routes, it's like, I don't know, 70% goes, like 20% hooks, and then some crossing routes, maybe a post. Like, that's what he's running. It's not that he can't run it, but that's what he's a specialist in. And why change it, right? That's what he does.
That's his game, pretty much.
Exactly, yeah. So, I'm not criticizing Deshaun, but if you put him in a route running contest with Devontae Smith, There's different players, man. They're different players.
It's kind of like Stephon Diggs versus Deshaun Jackson. Like Stephon, he's a great route runner. Like the guy, to me, like in comparison to Devontae Smith, that's probably the closest I would say in when it comes to running his routes. Like he's that nasty. And he has the potential to be that nasty as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about the big. I mean, we finally have a number one wide receiver. I know he's a slim frame, but at the same time, it's like the team saw something in him, and he dominated college for a reason. Like this kid was not just dominating because he was the only wide receiver out there. He was going against cornerbacks that were taken before him in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching his highlights, and like I didn't realize until I was watching the highlights that like we haven't seen a receiver just beat a corner with his route running in so long, man. Like even the last couple of years, like okay, like Alshon's made some great catches. Like maybe Ertz, but it's more that he's reading the defense as a whole, like finding those soft spots in the zones. But like, man, this guy, like he loses defenders. Like they're gone.
That's separation.
Oh, it's amazing. And like, I don't know. I feel like we're going to see it a lot this year. They might not be 40-yard passes, but on the 3 to 5, even to the 10-yard routes, like it's a clinic, man. It's fun to watch. So I'm excited.
I'm definitely excited about it. The great thing about Devontae Smith, what I just learned about, is he came into Alabama and he's played defensive back his freshman season.
It makes sense, man.
That's wild if you think about it. Like the kid knows how to think like a cornerback, and that's why why he's so talented at the wide receiver position. There's no better advantage than that.
100%, man. Like it makes sense. Like I didn't know that. Like I should be more shocked, but just watching the route running, like what he's thinking almost. Like you can see the wheels turning. He knows what the defender's gonna do. Like he's leading you into that. I mean, it's just great. And again, like from a guy who like loves this kind of stuff, like it's just a clinic. Like it's just amazing. Put it on, grab some popcorn, and just like sit back and watch. It's great.
It's phenomenal, and he has a great catch radius. And like Doug just mentioned, this helps Jalen Reagor. Like we actually and I didn't think about this until I read about what Doug Peterson has said. We actually have a 1-2 punch in wide receivers. Like this is the first time since Jeremy Maclin and Deshaun that we have actual stable wide receivers that are young and that are going to be groomed with this offense and possibly take off with this offense. So to see Reagor, in my opinion, more in the slot, because that's where I actually wanted to see him more, because I feel like Rager's more that kind of gadget style speed. To see him in the slot, to see Devontae on the outside and possibly Fulgham on the other side, that's a win-win in my book at the end of the day.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, again, I think he gets a bad rap, but he's not a bad player. I think, the comparison's always going to be Justin Jefferson, right? But I mean, again, I remember writing an article about this, and you see the targets that Justin Jefferson's getting. You see the targets that Ayuk is getting, and like Reagor just didn't get that respect. I don't know what was going on in that front office. Obviously, it ended and cannon the whole thing and starting over. But he's not getting the respect in that locker room last year that he deserved. And I mean, did he have some stuff to work on? Absolutely. Was every route crisp? No. Did he have some separation problems? You're talking about a guy who is nagging injuries his whole rookie career on a weird rookie career too. You don't get an off season. I'm all pluses on his second year, man. This is going to be a great second year. Putting him in the slot, putting him out wide, I think he's just going to move around. Like how many screens did we see him get last year? It's like 6.
It was terrible. We saw Greg Ward getting more of them. Exactly.
Alshon came back for 2 games and had like 3 screens. But
I think it's a plus to see what the Eagles did with the wide receiver position, especially with the fact that they didn't add too much to it. I know they added Trayvon Grimes from Florida.
Yep.
Undrafted free agent. I know they added him, but at the same time, I feel like the core is going to be, you're looking at Devontae Smith, you're looking at Travis Fulgham, Jalen Reagor. I'm iffy, and this podcast actually became a little chaotic when we mentioned the fact that I don't know about you, but I'm not a big fan of having Greg Ward in front of any of these guys. I want to see Quez. I want to see John. I want to see them get more snaps than Greg Ward. I want to see Reagor get more snaps in the screen game than Greg Ward, just for the fact that these guys have been groomed to be wide receivers their entire life.
Sure.
So for Greg Ward, it's kind of like the Tebow effect, where this guy's got signed to be a tight end. You get me? Like that's what I personally. I want to see these guys more than I see Greg Ward right now. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think with Greg Ward, what you're seeing is like similar to how we're talking about how Devontae Smith used to play corner, so he understands these routes. Is Greg Ward used to be a quarterback, man. He knows, like, same with Edelman, man. Same with Edelman. You have these guys that just know where the quarterback wants to put the ball. And you're talking about a quarterback in his second year moving into a new offense. You need that. And I mean, we still got Ertz. That's fantastic. Who knows what his health? Hopefully he's healthy all season. He's another one of those guys. But I think you just can't have enough of those guys around. Is he going to play the same amount of snaps that he did last year? Probably not. Do I want to see Hightower and Quez Watkins get their opportunity? Absolutely. But I think that there's something intangible about what Greg Ward brings to a field. And again, like all those people that have played football before, and especially if you play on the offense, like you know that there's some of those guys you can't explain it. You can't explain why they're good, but they're racking up 6-7 catches a game just because they're in the right spot.
I hear you.
I think that he's one of those guys, and is he exciting? Maybe not, but I think that you can't discount him. But I get absolutely why you want to see Watkins and Hightower. Like we for once have way too many receivers, and it's a great problem to have. I mean, we on offense, like again, I think that this is one of those situations where we got a new OC. And we don't really know what he's going to bring to the table. So why not give him as many options as, like, we might see Greg Ward play on the outside. Who knows? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Imagine Greg Ward on the outside.
But, like, we don't know, man. Quez Watkins could be in the slot. He could be outside. We got, like, John Hightower, Rager, Fulgham. I mean, you might even see some J-Jaw. Like, who knows, right? Who knows what this new coaching staff is going to see?
The J-Jaw mystery. So before we get to Doug, Jay, I do apologize for the Ward violence. I don't know. There's something about Ward that just aggravates me a little bit. Maybe it's just how they used him last season. But Doug does have a question as who would be the wide receiver 3 or 4 in this current lineup, or which veteran wide receiver do you bring in to give some mentoring to some of this young staff? I don't know about you. I might say something a little off the charts that usually I would get yelled at by Chris, but I don't want a veteran wide receiver. I want to see these guys make the mistakes and learn on themselves. I want to see these guys groomed with enough snaps like we just talked about. And I think my wide receiver 3 is Fulgham. My wide receiver 4, I'm iffy because you want to say Ward just because he's reliable, but I want to see Hightower, on the outside. I want to see what Quez can do with a full game of enough snaps, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board with what you're saying, man. Like these guys need snaps. We saw it last year when Alshon came back and Fulgham disappeared. Right, like it's more than just getting snaps. It's about confidence. It's about rhythm. You got a young quarterback. The veteran's probably going to be a 1-year signing, right? Like get Hurts going with these young receivers. So I'm on the page with you. I think that it is Ward. I think that he's wide receiver 4, and mostly because from what I saw, it's going to be a lot of 3 receiver sets. Okay. I don't see. I mean, again, there's talk about moving Rager to the slot. So that might solve your issue there, and maybe you need another wide outside. But I think that it's going to be a lot of slot, and you just have that extra slot with Ward. But I think it's going to be a lot of rotation, man. Like I think that the whole point of having 3 guys that are just speed with Watkins, Hightower, and Rager is that like just run them until they're exhausted, and then who knows? We'll make. And that's kind of we did see that last year, right? We saw that last year. One game it was Hightower, one game it was Watkins. Like, just run them, man. See what works.
I completely agree with that. I'm dying to see what Watkins and Hightower could do. I do listen. I was ecstatic when Greg Ward made those catches last season in the end zone when he made that catch with against Washington. Like I love seeing that stuff. Yeah. But at the same time, you drafted these other guys for a reason. I want to see the reason why. But Devontae Smith. So I don't know about you because you're not Instagram-less, Morgan. You're Twitter-less, Morgan. So I know you're on Instagram a lot, okay? So I know you see all the rants from Giants fans in regards to how, it's a conspiracy against them that nobody wants them to win, even though they can't win on their own, apparently. Damn. Devontae Smith is an Eagle instead of a Giant. That's really what I get at. Like, it's a phenomenal feeling, but tomorrow, before we jump into Jalen Hurts, tomorrow the schedule does come out, which I did forget until I started seeing the notifications.
Yeah, for sure.
How do we feel about week 1, Giants and Eagles, primetime? Like, is that a possibility with 2 bad teams can get primetime? I mean,
I mean, it's a rivalry for the ages, right? Like we've seen it before. That's always a Sunday game, Sunday night game, or a Monday night game.
But it's always Giants and Cowboys. Like, I'm tired of seeing that. Like nobody cares about that anymore.
Yeah, I just like. I'm a lot more intrigued this year by the Giants than the Cowboys. I know that the Cowboys, and Washington, like, again, I've said it before, this Washington team is gonna be good.
Their
for
defense
you.
is gonna be
Like,
nasty.
Yeah, you want to hate them so bad, but what they're doing, like, there's nothing to nitpick at. And for coming like 2-3 years ago, I mean, they were a mess. And to see what they are now, like, good on them, good for them. I hope we still kick their ass and whatever. I can swear on this, right? I don't know.
Absolutely, bro. You can do whatever you want. There's no streaking at all, please.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Anyways, but week 1, like Jalen Hurts, man, he's been working hard. Throw him into the fire. I like it. Divisional matchup, big matchup. You hope it's at home, but it doesn't really matter. It's not that far away, right? That's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good.
Is
it been announced already?
No. So tomorrow, the full schedule blows up. I think at 7:45, they'll announce the full schedule. In the morning, they're gonna announce week 1. So we'll figure out what the hell is happening with week 1 in the morning. But what I was trying to get at before I lost my train of thought is Devontae Smith. People said that he was unhappy to be an Eagle, but he seems ecstatic to be with Jalen Hurts again. And when I say people, Giants fans were saying that he's unhappy to be an Eagle just because his face didn't look like it when he got drafted.
Yeah. We've seen that before, man. Like we've seen all these guys, like emotion shows on they're what, 20-year-old guys. Like they play football. They don't smile for cameras. They're not actors. Is what it is. Like you're coming into a weird situation with the Eagles. I can get that. Like, okay, if you could go to the, Packers, he'd probably be happier. Let's be honest.
Of course,
right? Yeah. But I mean, it's a place where you get to reunite with your college. There was a lot of that this year. I noticed that. I think that like these quarterback receiver matchups from college, like they're going after that now. Teams are going after that. They're wanting that.
It's smart. I don't understand why it was never done before. Because I mean, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, phenomenal. Yeah. Then you have Jalen and you have Tua.
Yep.
Then you have Jalen and you have Devontae. Am I missing one? I think that's it, right?
Who knows, man? Yeah, but like those are the big 3. Those are the first round 3. Like it's a big deal, and it's smart. I think it's smart. Give the guys someone that they're familiar with. I mean, you don't want too much of it, and like I'm not throwing any shade or anything like that, but you do see situations where it's like Carson and Ertz, right? Like, maybe it's a bit too much. So we don't want to lean on it, but give them a year, then bring the receiver from college. I like it.
I'm a big fan of it, and the fact that Devontae Smith said that the Smith and Hurts duo is the best out of the 3 is it's all I need in life now. But let's move on to Jalen Hurts because he was the big subject of controversy from last season's pick till all the way even to Carson Wentz trade. Obviously the Eagles didn't want to show their hand and say, hey, this is our quarterback. He's our quarterback of the future. They played it right. Competition. Justin Fields fell into the lap at the 10th overall pick when they traded up for the Cowboys. And I don't know if you saw the live stream, but I was panicking because I said, this is the pick. Justin Fields is going to be an Eagle. They obviously selected Devontae Smith, and they showed they're committing to an actual quarterback. They're actually committing to Jalen Hurts opposed to how they did it to Carson. And a lot of people say, they did try helping Carson. Listen, they drafted what was the damn kid's name? The backpack dancing kid. Oh my God, I forgot his name. Mac Hollins. They drafted Mac Hollins. He didn't do anything. They drafted J-Jaw. He didn't do anything. I mean, they signed Alshon, and Alshon had a riff with Carson because I'm assuming Carson alienated certain people. From what I heard, kind of how he alienated the young guys last season.
Yeah.
But now the Eagles are actually full blown. How he came out saying like Jalen Hurts has the keys. I need to know what you do with it because hey, they got 3 first-round picks next season. They could easily be out the door, and they could trade for Deshaun, Aaron, Russell, or even draft a quarterback. Sure. How do you feel about Jalen Hurts being QB1 from here on out if it works out?
I mean, there's pros and cons. I mean, I feel like what you see is what you get with Jalen. And one thing that I think that people don't put enough emphasis on when they're talking about quarterbacks, and arm talent's great, and IQ is great, the throws they can make. Man, he's a winner. He wins games. And that's like, I mean, Carson was the same way. This is another reason why they're like Carson. They're winners, man. You see guys like Baker Mayfield's another. Like, it took him a while, but like, that is a winner. That's a guy who you feel comfortable with in the fourth quarter when you're down, going out and getting this game. Now, it didn't always work like that for Carson. But I mean, we saw in the Saints game last year, man, like that's where you see it. That's where you get excited. Like it just feels different. It feels like this team is finally going all in on something. Like
they're doing it the right way finally.
Yeah. Is it a full rebuild? I don't know if that's like what we're calling it, but it does feel like they're switching this, like flipping the switch a bit, switching the script. It just feels different when they brought Carson. It didn't feel that way. It felt like, okay, let's get a guy and like let's see what happens. Whereas now it's like, okay, like if we're gonna do this, then damn, we better do it, right? So it feels different. It feels good. I think that, like, I mean, we're 1 year removed from being promised like playoffs every year.
Yeah, the norm.
It's crazy. And then now we're in somewhat of a rebuild, but it does feel like they're doing it the right way this time.
So the Jalen Hurts probationary period. I'm going to call it the probation period.
All right.
So is it fair to put him on probation for 1 year? Like, come on, you just said it yourself. Like, it took Mayfield a couple of seasons for him to actually become the quarterback he is now. So imagine like pulling the plug on a quarterback like Jalen Hurts so quick. I think he's only like 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
And these guys don't really touch their prime to like 25 or 26.
It's true. I mean, it's hard.
They're in a rock and a hard place.
It's like, I mean, I remember saying this, like, I think this is back like before they even fired Doug. Like, it's hard to be an Eagles fan sometimes because this front office, like, it's really hard. Like, I don't know. It feels like that ex-girlfriend you have where just like they say the right things 9 times out of 10, and that 10 times just like it's just a letdown. It's like it really feels bad to put your heart into it sometimes. So like, man, if that's our guy, that's our guy, and I'll ride with him. Like, I still want Carson to succeed. That's the way I am. Like, I'll never change. I love Carson, great quarterback. I think the front office didn't and like whether or not he had the talent on the field to succeed. If we're talking about, behavioral issues, or we're talking about a guy that can't lead a team, like how did that not come out in pre-draft process? How did that not come out? Like, you love this guy. That's all we heard. This is a great dude. This is a great dude. And then we see someone different. So like this now, it does feel different, but we're seeing and we're saying a lot of the same things. So I hope they give him an opportunity. I don't see anyone next year that like I'm thinking, wow, this guy's gonna, like, there's no Trevor Lawrence next year, in my opinion. Now that makes
just a Deshaun Watson next year.
Well, yeah, fair enough. And that's a completely different story. I don't know, like I don't want to get my hopes up. But like, I think right now it's Spencer Rattler's like the guy, right? Okay. And I mean, as we get closer to the draft, that might change. But like, I mean, I don't know if they had a Netflix series. It was like QB1 or something like that. And you saw him as a teen, and you see him now, and like just the attitude, like he just, is it a guy I want to leave my team? No. Jalen Hurts seems great, man. Like, I'm excited.
The thing about Jalen, like even like Kerryon Johnson today, he raved about it. He was like, hey, I'm thankful that I don't have to play against Jalen Hurts no more. And he acknowledged the leadership that Hurts carries himself with, which you saw against the New Orleans Saints. Like, I thought that was a loss. And I hate losing to the Saints more than I hate losing to the Cowboys. But to see like Jalen Hurts just rile up this team and actually pull off a victory like that, an upset victory to that magnitude, it speaks volumes to who his character is.
Yeah.
I heard from the grapevine that that Quez and Carson they never even communicate with each other.
Yeah.
But it made sense as to why these young guys started gravitating to Jalen, and the locker room started belonging to Jalen. Sean Bradley came on saying, hey, when he was on the field, the defense didn't sit. We wanted to see what Jalen was going to do because he's that kind of player.
Sure.
So it's a tricky situation. I mean, you have 3 first-round picks next season. You have Jalen Hurts this season. I truly feel like it's gonna suck the way it ends, because if this season doesn't end with at least like a little nibble on the playoffs, like say we lose the playoffs by like 1 game out or whatever, it's gonna end up being like, okay, the Eagles are searching for a quarterback now. No matter what Jalen Hurts pulls off, if it's playoffs or bust for me, pretty much. I think that's how they're looking at it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I think you're right. Like, I think that you see through the eyes of the head office a bit better than I. For me, like, if I'm looking next year, even if Jalen Hurts isn't the guy, is drafting a quarterback next year going to make you a better team overall, or is another season of Jalen Hurts? Now, that might not be, and again, 2022 draft, like, I don't know, man. Like, who's the quarterbacks? Like, I'm not that far in depth, but I think, like, when you have 3 first-round picks, like you saw Miami this year, right? Mm-hmm. they're not second guessing Tua. Did he look great at times? Sure. Other times it was like, okay, like he's going to make mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Dolphins are in a bit different place head office wise. But like that's what I'm hoping the Eagles take it as. It's like, okay, Jalen Hurts might not be the guy. Does that mean rebuild this year? Like, do we really want to go through this again? I hope not. Like, I hope that we're just a better team. Like, look at Washington, man. They still don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, and then they're the better team right now as well.
Let's be honest. They're probably going to win the division. And they went about it a different way. I think that teams are starting to realize that you don't need a QB1 to win. And honestly, if Washington – like, I hope the trend changes because I think Washington can win some playoff games this year. I really do. And we've seen it before. Like, defense wins championships, right? Like, you need a quarterback – that's a game manager. Jalen Hurts came in, didn't make many mistakes, a couple bad games. And then you have like again, the young talent on this team. Like I was looking through the roster, the amount of guys we have under 24 is ridiculous. I mean, we still have those guys hanging on the edge, right? In their 30s that are really hanging the average. Like I don't think average wise, we're in the top or anything like that, but there's so many young guys.
Ago, we were one of the oldest teams in the league.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's happening. The pieces are moving, and I hope that the front office sees that. Like we might not be a playoff team this year, and I think you're right. Is they're expecting to be a playoff team this year. We might sneak in, but like for me, that's not a failed season if we don't make the playoffs.
And I'm completely on board with that. It just sucks because like you're trying to think how Howie thinks, and how Howie thinks is literally how a 14-year-old kid playing Madden thinks. Yeah, which sucks. It truly sucks because this kid is trying to trade for Odell Beckham with a 7th round pick. Like that's the kind of thinking of it. Which is terrible. And then you have Jeffrey Lurie, who's like that, the best friend on the couch eating all the candy. That's literally how it feels like this franchise is being ran. But Jalen Hurts, like again, the one thing that resonates with me that you said is the leadership. Like you want a kid that's 22 or 23 years old comes in. Is probably the talk of the town because he was actually selected while you already had a franchise quarterback. You want him leading your team.
For sure.
You want that kind of ego is not the word, but you want that kind of personality to be the representation of your franchise.
For sure.
And he doesn't have to be Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have to be Russell Wilson. He just has to be good enough to win. And I think that's right the nail in the coffin right there.
Yeah. He works, man. I don't know if you saw when he was shaking hands with Devontae Smith when he came in. He's big this year. Like he got bigger. I think we'll see him once he's got pads on.
His thighs are like the size of my body. Like he's wild.
He works. When your quarterback's the one in the weight rooms, like that resonates, man. That goes from the top level down to the bottom. It doesn't matter. I don't know if Carson was ever that guy, to be honest. So I think that's a big change. That's a big change. And we're talking about a football team that other teams don't want to play, right? And like however good he is as a quarterback, I don't want to play a dude that looks like that at quarterback. That's a big dude. Like, I know Carson's like 6'6", but he brings a bit of meat. Like, I think the feeling of the team, and that's what I've been trying to get at. It's hard to describe, but it does feel different. It feels like we're a team that's starting to like, okay, this is a fun team to cheer for.
It actually feels like the underdog team. Like this actually feels like a team full of underdogs.
Yeah, like it was the Super Bowl year, obviously best Eagles season of all time. And then the next season, like I kind of still felt it. I mean, that drop, heartbreaking. Probably one of the most heartbreaking drops I've ever seen. And then I'm Eagles fan, ride or die. Like I'm always an Eagles fan, but like it's exciting this year again. I like that
because it's different. Like you don't know what to expect anymore. Like with Carson, you expected greatness, which sucked. It was unfair to Carson because he was, he was young and he was dealing with a lot of injuries, and you expected that kind of greatness. But with Jalen, I just expect gritty. Like I just expect a dog. I expect the dog to come out of this team finally. Yeah, and it's gonna be phenomenal. See, my only fear is like you said before in the beginning of the show is the defense has to be to me it has to be the identity of this team now. Like you need to have that defense that's just gonna like be nasty, like just be a force, be intimidating, and we don't even have cornerbacks right now.
yeah, it's a sad honestly. Like I mean, I'll still watch, but it's there might be some head scratching moments and some tears, but
it's gonna be rough. But before we get to Kerryon Johnson, who's just recently picked up,
sure.
Out of the free agents right now for cornerback, like what is your expectation that the Eagles should do, and what do you possibly think they will end up doing for the cornerback position?
So I know, like, I'm not going to be a favorite for saying this, but I think we got to prepare ourselves for the fact that we can't be surprised if they don't pick up anyone. And I think
I'm fearful of that.
yeah, I know it's going to be a bit scary, but I think again, I think I mentioned this on day 2 of the draft. We saw a team that was willing to throw young guys into the fire last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you hired an entirely new coaching staff, you bring in Jonathan Gannon, who's apparently this cornerback whisperer, this secondary whisperer, great with the secondary. How are you going to give him any less trust than you did the team last year?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think he deserves that trust. If you believe him in the way you do, then you're going to give him that trust. And like, I don't feel comfortable with the roster, but if the front office felt comfortable with the roster the way it was last year, they got in a guy. And again, nothing against Zach McPherson, he's going to be great, I think, as a third quarterback. Like, is he a second? I don't know. Is he a slot guy? I don't know, but like, he's a good option to have. Nothing against him. He's not a number 2, I don't think, but I think they're going to find out. Like, I really think that they're going to let him try it. And then you have Avonte Maddox. Honestly, like, I think an underrated slot guy. I mean, we talk about this guy as a good slot guy, but still, he's completely like, he gets no credit.
But he's regressing. You don't think he's kind of regressed the past 2 seasons? Like, I feel like when they used him for safety and the cornerback, he was great. I think this kid could ball out.
Yeah,
but he hasn't been the same ever since, and it's a weird thing to really see.
Yeah. I mean, injuries. I mean, you never know what that guy's going through mentally, right? Like, I think injuries and switching positions is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to retain or regain that form? I don't know. But do I feel comfortable with him as your slot guy with 2 solid outside corners? I think so. Like, I think that I'm fine with that. I just, like, between you and me with the free agents, I don't know if there's a guy out there that I go, wow, like, that guy's going to turn around we might end up with like a patch. Like, yeah, I mean, think that's a great number 2 option, I think.
Okay.
Is it going to fix the secondary? I mean, who knows? Again, we don't know how Jonathan Gannon's going to orchestrate. We might not need to worry about this. But like, I think that we're thinking, like, in our hearts, we're thinking about Patrick Robinson situation where this guy comes in, he's signing on a 1-year veteran deal, and all of a sudden he's a top 10 player at his position. You know, like, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, it would be great if it did, but I think we're hoping for wishful thinking. So, like, I have no issue if they bring someone in, but I think we have to kind of prepare ourselves to the reality that this might be the cornerback roster. That's all I'm saying. And I don't say that with a smile on my face. I know I'm smiling, but it's just because I'm scared, you know? But yeah.
It's such a wild thought, though. I mean, correct if I'm wrong, but it's Slay, Avonte, now McPherson. You have Kayvon Seymour, Craig James, who I don't know. I'm not a big fan of him.
Special team guy. You got Elijah Riley.
Elijah Riley, yes. Am I missing anybody? That's what that's.
And Jackett,
which has a lot of potential.
Yeah,
he definitely has a lot of potential.
Well, I think. I mean, again, like, we're putting these guys into context of the Jim Schwartz defense. Like, they're all gonna do better. Like, they got no help. They got put on an island. We saw one good game. They're all gonna do better on average. Are any of these guys again gonna, like, completely surprise us? I don't know. But you talk about a guy like Michael Jaquette, who's 6'2", long guy, played pretty well. Was it Julio last year that he was covering?
I believe so.
Adams. He had to go against Davante Adams too. I mean, there's the top corners in the game that are going to have bad games against those guys. Put those guys in the Jim Schwartz defense, like what do we expect, really?
Yeah.
But again, I think we're talking about, 4th or 5th cornerback on the roster. I don't think we're talking about CB2.
Yeah.
So,
I hear you. All right. Well, let's talk about somebing that they actually did pick up.
Sure. Yeah.
You're kind of excited about because you actually declared this. You low-key called this ahead of time.
Yeah.
Kerryon Johnson is a Philadelphia Eagle and definitely RB2, guaranteed. I mean, I don't see any way where anybody beats him out for it. But you're pretty damn excited about it. I need you to kind of explain to everybody why.
I mean, just an exciting dude. Like, I think that one of the only thing that's really holding him back is injuries. Like, I think you also saw a Lions team that doesn't know what's going on. Right?
Yeah, they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Yeah, like a weird position to be in. A guy that came off like a fantastic rookie season. I think that the injuries, like, I don't think we're gonna see that same guy. Like, I don't think he might never be the same guy we saw in the rookie season. Injuries have pulled him back. He doesn't have that explosive gear. But going into next year, you have Boston Scott, who, I mean, nothing against him.
Pass block.
Can't pass block. Doesn't really like. There's no times really where I'd say I'd rather Boston Scott on the field than Miles Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not that. That doesn't really exist. Like I'd always rather have Miles Sanders. Nothing against Boston Scott. With Carry On, I think what you have is you have a guy who brings a little bit of what Jordan Howard comes to the field, brings to the field with the pass blocking. He'll lower shoulder. Again, it's a bit of mean. I like that. Like, I like mean football. We're kind of going away from that, but like bring us back to the old days. But then also, not in the same way that Jordan Howard does. Like we can keep our playbook. I think a lot of what you saw last year is like when Jordan Howard's going in the game, you know what plays coming. Like we only have 10 plays in the playbook where he can run it, or he's pass blocking. Right? You bring Carry On. He's a guy that can outrun you on the edge. He's a guy that will hit a hole and take it 70 yards to the house. He can still do that. Is he going to do it every play? Is he going to do it at the same pace as he's doing first year? Probably not. But this, like again, if you're giving your coach options, the first year offensive head coach options, and you get a guy who's a bigger body, does like all the same things, maybe not as well as Miles Sanders does, and can pass block, and has an upside as a pass catcher, like this is a home run. Like you pick this guy up off the streets. Like Lion said, I don't want you, and I get who knows what the Lion's doing, but like this is a time. Apparently
he's the best pass blocking running back in the league. And I personally feel like what the Eagles actually ended up pulling off was they perfected the backups. You have Kerryon Johnson, who does everything Corey Clement could do, but 10 times better, and Jordan Howard. You have Kenneth Gainwell, who could do everything Boston Scott can do, but 10 times better.
For sure.
And you have Miles Sanders, who now you can actually say, hey, if I need to give you some rest during the game, Kerryon could be in or Kenneth could be in, and we could switch up the offense without missing a beat. Like it's phenomenal to finally see, like we said before, like this team is actually putting a team on paper.
Yeah,
like, this is actually a pretty damn good formula of what you have in almost each position. And the running backs is gonna be damn exciting to finally see like a good running back group.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of a bottom heavy roster. Like I don't know that we have the same, top five. Like in basketball, it's your top three, right? Your big three. I don't know if we have like that going on yet, but bottom heavy, it's a pretty thick roster. Like I like. Again, we got 7 running backs, and I think like we should probably try and make sense of that too, just for shits and giggles. But yeah, man, like I think when we don't know what's coming with the offense, but when we're looking at the Colts offense, they had Nyheim Hines, they had Marlon Mack, they brought in Jonathan Taylor, right? Like those are 3 running backs that could be starters for a lot of teams in the league. And that's how they ran it. Like that's how they want to run it. They want to have running backs. Like you don't get a break. Whereas like, okay, Eagles last year line up, you got Jordan Howard in the backfield. Everyone kind of, you're looking for pass or you're looking for a run up the middle, right? You're not really looking for outside zone. Like I can't count the amount of times on one hand that Kerryon Johnson's turned their edge on someone. Mm-hmm. You can still run that. It doesn't bring it out of your playbook. So that's exciting. And then, who knows? Like who knows? I assume it's going to be Boston Scott, but I think they're going to keep 4 just because of what Boston Scott brings as a returner. But yeah, I don't know if you have any what's your guess? Like, I don't even know. Like, I think they're going to keep 4 and I think it's going to be those.
I think they do keep 4, but I don't know if it's Scott because I feel like Huntley's a better returner. Gainwell could possibly be a better returner. But if the key thing with Sirianni was pass block, that's his key thing. Like, I need to know that you can block. Mm-hmm. Jordan Howard fits that mold. If you have 2 big body backs, and Kerryon Johnson is wearing a knee brace for the rest of his career, he's not, like you said, he's not going to be the same player. Mm-hmm. But if you have 2 Jordan Howards, imagine having 2 of them in a game pass blocking to help out Jalen Hurts a little bit.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't think there's any way. Like another guy that we haven't even talked about is Elijah Holyfield.
Wow, I completely forgot he's on the roster.
Yeah, this is a guy that I was hyped about. Like when we picked him up, like this is a guy that like, okay, he's a year or 2 away, but man, the tangibles, like this guy's a freak. Like
and he's a big body back too. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
like,
big guy.
And Jordan as well.
Yeah, like big dude. Like I think the football IQ is not really there, but this is his 3rd year. Mm-hmm. 3rd year, I think, going into his 3rd year, and like we didn't see him. We don't know what he can like. This is a guy we saw in preseason on Carolina, and he's making highlight reel plays. Like we don't know what he can bring. So like, I mean, again, we saw injuries. Like I hate to say it. I don't want to speak it into existence, but we've seen injuries before, and now we got some. I think we also Adrian Killens. You know,
I forgot about that kid. Wow.
This is like we better keep. I think we're gonna keep at least 2 or 3 on the practice squad for sure.
Which will probably be Killings and
Yeah, and Holyfield. I think.
Yeah.
I think both those guys will keep. I don't know about Jordan Howard. I like where you're going with it. I like the thought process. But I think like you bring in Kerry again, but they just gave him a contract. Like I don't know.
That's my thing. My theory behind it. Like if you're gonna keep 4, in my opinion, you have Miles who did regress a little bit in pass catching, but he can get it together. I'm pretty confident in that.
Yeah.
You have Kenneth Gainwell who could do good in pass catching. So you have 2 Miles Sanders technically, right?
Yep.
But then you have Kerryon who could do everything Miles can do and everything that Howard can do. He's a great pass blocker. Miles is also a great pass blocker. And then you bring in Howard, where if like Kerryon, you know, he did mention that he's gonna be wearing a knee brace for the rest of his career. Like he's not the same player. Howard could spell him at times. You're bringing like, you know, you can even use one of these guys as a fullback, in my opinion, as well.
I love that, man. Bring back the fullback.
Yeah, like let it ride.
Yeah, honestly, I just think they can't go wrong. Like they've kind of painted themselves into a really good corner. Like
it's a good roster, in my opinion. It's a well-structured roster.
Yeah, I mean, unless the guys are like Adrian Killens and you're keeping Holyfield, like I don't see how you can go wrong, right? And like interesting. I know this is a bit off topic, but interesting. Like we're talking about guys that we forgot were on the roster. I forgot about Hakeem Butler. Like,
he's a tight end now.
Yeah, tight end. But we're talking about like, okay, we're talking about the draft. I just feel like I tossed it in here. We're talking about the draft. They didn't get a tight end, right? They did bring in one in free agency, more of a blocking tight end. We're talking about like moving around, moving slot guys. Like,
they signed. Sorry to interrupt you. They signed Shaquille Taylor from the Colts, cornerback.
Oh, okay,
that's the corner that we forgot.
Okay, all right. Well, we can talk about that too.
Mattered, but
yeah. Again, like I think with all this stuff, like it's just like I don't know if I'm gonna like change my mind. I think that like the secondary,
we leave the secondary back where it is.
Yeah.
I forgot that he signed.
You're doing well, man. We're getting excited and yeah. Another thing I talked about even last year too, actually, is when we had Corey Clement. Like again, I'm a big Corey fan.
He's still on sign.
It's a hard pitch now. Like I think a couple years ago, like I think I was on the right track. But another thing we saw in the Colts is 2 running backs in the backfield, and like you're talking about a fullback. Again, just more options. Like this is gonna be again like an exciting offense to watch. We're gonna see a lot of creativity. But yeah, I mean, going back to carry on, what you see with this new offense is efficiency. They're going to run the same thing that works, right? They're going to run the same thing. So you talk about a guy who can do the same things as Miles Sanders. Like if it is working and you have to put him on the sideline, you need a guy that can do those things. So, I mean, we've hammered that point home, but that's what you bring in with Kerry. And again, for pennies, like
this
is a guy.
I don't think he has a cap hit if they drop him either.
This is a guy that, you know, a couple of years ago was one of the most exciting up and coming running backs. Like, why not? Right.
He's an Eagle now. That's so wild to actually say. But speaking of somebody that is currently an Eagle, I kind of want to squeeze this in before we our time runs up. Zach Ertz is still a Philadelphia Eagle. After all the rumors that he was going to get traded during the draft, after everything that happened, how we did say that, you know, Zach Ertz is a phenomenal talent that he wants to keep him on the roster. I don't know how much of it is fluff, because you don't just drop a guy like Zach Ertz, in my opinion. That you don't cut somebody. He's not Alshon. He's not Deshaun. You don't cut him for no reason. He had a down year last year, but he had a down year because of injury. And one thing I've said continuously in the Slack chat with our Eagles team is I don't trust Dallas Goedert enough to not have Zach Ertz on the roster because of his injuries. Like, I feel like you need Ertz still a part of this team.
Yeah. He's I mean, these references might, you know, they're a bit different. A Raptors fan, but he's your Kyle Lowry, right? Like he's your guy that it's that glue. And you lost a lot of glue with Carson leaving, with the new head coach, with the new coaching staff. And like, I mean, like how he says again, I think you're right. I don't know how much of this is fluff, but you can't go wrong with having talented guys on your roster like that. Like, again, adding carry on, having Ertz on the roster, like there's no issue. I think the issue that you have with him is he saw like some of these tight ends get paid, right? Like Kittle got paid. We saw Kelsey get paid. Are the Eagles going to pay him again? I don't know. So this might be your last year of Zach Ertz. And if he wants a contract and he thinks he can get one, I mean, the guy's giving you everything he has, right? You got to let him walk. Like I think that releasing him it's a tough pill to swallow. But I don't see them offering him a contract. What he wants might not be what he deserves. Like again,
yeah, because I think he wants more guaranteed money than he wants anything else. Like he just wants his money to be guaranteed at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And then like again, you have a young roster. You have a lot of guys that are on the up and coming. It's gonna logjam a lot of stuff. So I don't know. I'm a bit surprised they didn't move on from him. I don't know. With this weird draft, I think that like you just didn't want to bet on that. I think you'd rather have Zach Ertz than a 5th round pick.
Absolutely, yeah.
10 times out of 10. So I'm not mad at it, but I don't know that like he's gonna be an Eagle for more than a year. I hope he is. I'd love to have him. He's a great player.
I think they could pull off a Brent Celek move. I mean, you keep Zach Ertz on his roster, you put him behind Goddard next year, or you run 12 personnel, which you can definitely do with these wide receivers now. Mm-hmm. You rock out, you see what happens, and I'm sure like you pull an Alshon Jeffrey where you give this guy a good contract for 1 to 2 years, and then he'll call it a career. It's wild because it feels so simple, but again, this is a 14-year-old Howie Roseman. 15-year-old Jeffrey Lurie sitting on the couch playing Madden.
honestly, I mean, what can you get out of Zach Ertz that you haven't already? Like, I think that you know what he brings to the table. Mm-hmm. Is he going to do a lot this year? No, but he's going to bring a lot to the team. And then trade value, like I think other teams recognize that. Yeah, this is a guy who's going to add to your team if you're a Super Bowl contender, and bring a valuable pass catcher. I don't know if there's a lot of teams with money to spend that are going to spend it on Ertz. And that's no discredit to him, but it's just that's just how it is, right?
That's how the business is ran. I mean, he's not the youngest of the bunch of these tight ends. I mean, Kittle's definitely younger. I don't know if he's the same age as Kelsey. I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I
borderline with each other.
In my head, he's way older, but I don't think he's that far away. I don't think he's that far away.
But Zach Ertz, I don't know. I feel like he's demanding this money too late in his career at this point. Like you should have demanded. In my opinion, I would have demanded right after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that there's questions about like whether or not he wanted to be here too. And I think that those with him being on the roster, maybe they've talked to him. Mm-hmm. But I'm not shocked if he can figure out a way to go to the Colts next year, reunite with his buddy. Like, I'd be happy for him, man. Again,
sell him at the trade deadline. I mean, if you're gonna hold him to the trade deadline at this point. Like, don't just give him away for pennies. But I feel like we squeezed actually a lot in your debut of Flipping the Birds.
It's good. I had a good time. I mean, surprisingly, Chris has told me all bad things. So
apparently, so he even jumped in the chat saying bad things. I'm curious to know if he's still watching though, because we got a good amount of people in here.
Yeah.
And definitely shout out to everybody that's joined us. Our regulars, we have Alex, we have Duck, we have Jay Fizzle. Shout out to Anthony. I'm not too sure if you've been here before, but definitely thank you guys for joining us today. Chris, if you're still out there, you are dearly missed, even though you think I should be banned for not sharing my screen the correct way, apparently. But guys, I'm sure we're gonna end up seeing more of Morgan. Like I said, Chris is gonna be absent for the next couple of weeks. Kind of just focus on his outside job and his family, which can't fault him for that at all. But Morgan, thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining us, and I possibly may see you next week. I don't know. Yeah, and we might have a little British accent too. Canada, England.
Yeah, we're international now, baby. That's what
might as well be next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
And for the rest of you guys, I'm Bryan Cameron. He's Morgan, and this is Flipping the Birds. We'll see you guys next week.